In a surprise move, HDB is changing the criteria for replacement flats under the Selective En-Bloc Redevelopment Scheme, or Sers for short. Starting with the Ang Mo Kio Sers site announced in April, homeowners will only be able to sell their units 5 years from the date of collecting the keys. Previously, owners could sell either 7 years from the date of selection of the replacement flat or 5 years from the date of collection. Housing correspondent Michelle Ng is here to elaborate. Michelle, why the change for the Sers replacement flats? Is there something in particular that HDB is trying to address?
Yes, I would say that some people have thought that the old MOP criteria had some sort of a loophole that benefited owners who bought Sers replacement flats from the HDB. So prior to this change, there were 2 MOP options for this group of owners, and I must specify that this only applies to owners who had their old flats picked for Sers and then decided to buy a new replacement flat at the designated site offered by HDB. So the first MOP option was pretty standard, 5 years MOP from the time you collected your keys. This is the same as all other BTOs and HDB resale flats out there. The second option is the one that gave this group of owners a little bit of a head start, and early MOP, some people would call it. So this option is 7 years MOP from the date the owners selected their replacement flats. And this 7 years usually includes the construction of these new flats. So between these 2 options, whichever is earlier would be your MOP. Usually for a large group of Sers owners, they would reach the 7-year option first. So this means factoring in, say, a 4 years construction period, owners will only need to live in their new replacement flats for around 3 years before they can sell it on the open market. And this is where the loophole is. So this 3-year-old flat with a remaining lease of around 96 years is obviously going to be more attractive to buyers because it's practically new and they may be able to command a higher resale price. And this is actually what happens in the HDB resale market nowadays. Just last month, a 5-room flat at Henderson Road, which is between Redhill and Tiong Bahru MRT station, sold for a record $1.4 million. And this flat, what's interesting about this flat is that it only had 96 years left on its remaining lease because it was a Sers replacement flat for the Redhill Close Sers project in 2011. So by removing this 7-year MOP option, which is what HDB is doing today, and standardizing the MOP to 5 years for all future Sers projects, essentially what HDB is doing is they are closing this loophole, and some people would say make it fairer for everyone.
Well, Michelle, let's find another example. The 4 blocks in the Ang Mo Kio Sers site. Now, they are the first to fall under this new criteria. So, can you map out the process or timeline for those flat owners from when their blocks are selected for Sers to when they select and move into their replacement flat and when they can sell that unit?
You're correct. So the first Sers site that will fall under this revised criteria is the Ang Mo Kio Sers project. Actually, there will be a second one. The second one will be the 9 HDB blocks in Marsiling. Those will be acquired by the government to make space for the expansion of the Woodlands checkpoint. But that's like a whole month after the Ang Mo Kio Sers project. So taking this Ang Mo Kio project as an example, HDB timeline tells us that owners will be able to register for new replacement flats early next year in 2023. So if the previous option of the 7-year MOP was in place, their MOP would likely be around 2030. But now, after the revised criteria, their MOP would only be around 2032, which is a whole 2 years later than what it was previously. This is because the flats will only be completed around 2027. So yeah, that's the difference there, and that this group of owners will only be able to sell their flats 2 years later after this revised change.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified of new videos.